This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Hey
All
guys.
right. Party started.
Welcome tonight. Hannah, I don't know. I haven't heard anything from Frank, so maybe it's just you and Hannah. Maybe it's just the two of us.
Yeah,
Tonight,
I was about to say
moderators.
he didn't reply to the email chain, so I hope he's okay.
Hope he's doing well.
I haven't been here in a while, so a lot of these faces are new to me at least.
So let's go ahead and introduce everybody, since some people it's been a little while. We have some newbies and just welcome everybody that's coming back. I see, John's back from last time, and it's great to see everybody. So I'll start out. My name is Kim. I'm from Des Moines, Iowa. I have relapse remitting. I was diagnosed 2012, and I am on Ocrevus. And I'm just going to go across my screen so I don't miss anybody. So Hannah, you're up next, girl.
All right. So my name's Hannah. I was diagnosed in June of 2017. So I think it's been maybe 5 years. I haven't counted yet. Yeah, 5 years. So I have relapsing remitting, and I'm on Ocrevus right now, and which I'm very late on, by the way. I always forget what else to prompt, but
that's good enough.
Yeah.
Where are you from? Did you say where you're from?
San Antonio, Texas. So very hot down here.
There we go. We got a Texan in the crowd. All right, Jennifer, you're next.
Okay, that's me. I'm Jennifer. I was diagnosed in April of 2000, or no, 20. Look, my dates. I'm telling you, 2019.
It's okay.
It's all in my head. I'm telling you.
It happens. Yep.
2019, and I take Abagio, and I live in Richmond, Indiana.
Nice. Okay, I think Karen stepped away, so we're going to skip her for now. John, you're up next, buddy.
Hi, I'm John. I live in Big Rapids, Michigan, which is north of Grand Rapids. They're big, but they're not quite grand. I was diagnosed in August of 2016, and I am currently on Zeposia.
Nice. Okay, we're going to go to Elizabeth.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth. I was diagnosed in 2004, and I am on Ocrevus for 3-4 years, something, and have relapsing remitting MS, and I am living in Southern California. I have 2 kids.
Excellent. And Karen, now that you're back, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Did I ruin your routine because I had to go put on the heat? It's a little nippy here at 60 degrees. I'm in Oakland, California. I was diagnosed. I'm not going to do the math. I'll say the year, right? The 2019 with primary progressive. Although I've had symptoms for 20 years, and I think ignorance was bliss because it was disturbing knowing that I had symptoms, but I think, after I got the diagnosis, the curtain fell. So, yeah, I'm not on any medication or disease-modifying therapy is such a weird euphemism for MS. It's the only, I'm a nurse. I was like, what is it? We're like, what is a disease-modifying therapy? But I guess it's just telling you we don't promise anything. We don't fix anything. We're just, maybe we can do something for you. And
where are you from? Where are you living?
I did say, didn't I say Oakland, California?
Yes, you did. That's my brain already. We're doing good tonight
San
for me.
Francisco Bay. I should probably, it's like John said, I'm near like Grand Rapids, or like, I'm like, what does that mean? Michigan, it's like, well, there's Detroit and the North, right? What else? Yeah, it's like I'm in Oakland. We're probably a little more infamous, but the San Francisco Bay.
Let's go.
Where the weather is good.
Let's go to Mary next. Mary, you're up.
Hey, another Texan in the room, Mary Pettigrew from Dallas, Texas. And I was diagnosed with relapsing MS in 2001, has since progressed into I guess they're calling it, active secondary progressive MS, but it's kind of those. In talking with doctors, it's kind of hard to, just kind of hard to tell. You never know. But anyway, I am on a break. Actually, I will probably have more information when I convene with you guys in February. I'm on a break from Kesimpta because of some GI issues. I'm kind of a problematic person when it comes to the MS meds. I don't know why. It's not always GI issues, but I think it started with I started having those problems, and who knows if it was from the medications. I don't know, but I've been on. This is my Kesimpta is my 8th medication since I was diagnosed, and so I'm on a little break because with my gastroenterologist and my neurologist, who is an MS specialist, we've all kind of convened on me saying, okay, let's take a little bit of a break, see if your GI symptoms kind of calm down. We'll reconvene and see if we need to jump back on it or play with something else. I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But when I say IBS issues with the Kesimpta, it's more of the it's more of the painful diarrhea type stuff. But anyway, so that's my deal. And it's just great to see you guys. So there you go.
Excellent. Tiffany, you're up, girl.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. I live in Attleboro, Massachusetts. I was diagnosed October of last year, and I'm on Copaxone. It's still all very new.
Oh, yes, very new, very recent.
You are.
Glad to have you, Tiffany.
Mike, you're up next.
Me?
Yep.
I'm Mike. I've had was diagnosed in October in '97. I know I've had it probably since the early '90s, and I was on excuse me, Copaxone, and I've since gone off Copaxone because like guys like Frank, who's a veteran who should be here tonight, he suggested we not take. It doesn't do any good at my age, which is 67. But then the other day, I found out a drug called Kesimpta. Has anyone heard of that?
That's the one that I've been on. Yeah. Yes, it's a lot like Ocrevus, except instead of twice a year, it's once a month. Yeah, It's easy, so I'm hoping that it works well. It's so easy to do, and I've loved it. So I'm hoping, cross fingers. Yeah.
That would be great. I'm going to talk to my neurologist and see if I might go back on it, because there's potential that even though I'm beyond the age where most of the drugs work, maybe this one will stop it and stop my memory loss or whatever I'm going through there. Cognitive issues. I live in Arizona. I'm from Michigan, John, and I'm happy to be surrounded by this many beautiful women at one time. I'll cherish this moment, believe me. And happy to see Hannah back.
Welcome. And then last but not least, Roni.
Hi, I'm Roni. I live in New York. I was diagnosed April 30th, 2013. I was on Copaxone until a few months ago, just 2 or 3 months ago, when my MS started progressing. My doctor is calling this, I had relapsing remitting, he's calling this progressive remitting MS, which is a new one for me. Because I asked him, am I now officially secondary progressive? And he said, no, not quite. I never heard of progressive remitting, but okay. So I switched from Copaxone to Ocrevus. I just recently had my first 2 infusions for the first go around. What else? Yeah, I actually, until recently, considered MS my secondary disability. I have nerve damage from a surgery gone wrong. All those horror stories you've heard about, like terrible things happening, I'm one of those. That was really my most obvious and difficult disability until the last few months when I've started having more symptoms. So now it's both. So dealing with it the best I can, and that's why I'm here and thrilled to be here with all of you.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. Glad you made it. Does
Yep.
anyone have anything that they wanted to talk about or start out that you've been wanting to talk about at this meeting tonight?
I didn't want, but after what I heard, that Mary is active secondary and Roni is progressive relapsing. And I forgot, I lied. I said I am primary progressive, but on my chart it says progressive non-relapsing MS. Like, I mean, if
I think
if
our
we don't
doctors,
know what we're talking about,
yeah, there's
if we
different
don't know what
terms
we're
that our
talking about,
doctors use and how they write it up for our insurance purposes and medication purposes. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of it's when we get older. Also, I'm going to be 56 next month, and so the closer that we get, the longer that we've had MS, the closer that we get to an older age, I think they start kind of playing around with these terminologies and. But at the same time, my doctor, she's like, we don't really want to put a label on something that we don't know. I mean, who knows if next month I could have a relapse, next week? We don't know. We don't know at this juncture. So, but um, it's a funky it's a funky disease. Ronnie, I'm curious to ask you, but before we roll around, and forgive me, I'm a jibber jabber chatty
No, no,
person.
it's fine, and I'm interested in what you're saying, and I have a comment about it, but please go ahead.
Oh, well, first of all, where in New York are you from?
New York City.
New York City. Oh,
Yeah,
that's my dream is to be able to go back to New York and go to a show. I love the city. If you saw my
me too.
office, it's just filled with Broadway posters. So anyway, so there's that. I wanted to know where you're from. Okay, but then you mentioned earlier as far as having a different kind of um, chronic illness or disability that prefaced your MS, and now it's kind of what do you mind if I ask what that was or what that
No, it's
is?
fine. It's fine. I think it's helpful because they say that uh, part of what my problem is because I have MS, so that it magnified what happened, which I just find interesting. I'm a medical geek, and I love finding out about anything. My I have the benefit, and I don't know what all of you have. I'm treated at an MS center, a standalone MS center where there's physical therapy, the MRI is there, the cooking classes are there, the doctors are there, and it's one building where everything is centralized. So I really feel like I'm getting excellent treatment. I love the facility. I love my doctor. And when I saw him a few months ago, and this is what I was interested in what you said because, I specifically said, okay, is this secondary progressive? And he said, well, we don't like to put a name on it, just like your doctor said. And I said, but you know what? I need a name because I'm just the kind of person I want to know where I am. I want to research what I have. And he talked about clinically isolated syndrome, which I found fascinating, this whole new thing that they've discovered. So I learn a lot from them. My first disability is on February 27th, 2018. I had surgery on my neck for some spinal issues.
Cervical
And when I
stenosis?
came out of the surgery, my right arm felt like it was on fire. I could not lift my left arm above the level of my leg. I just couldn't lift it. I was just in excruciating pain. I couldn't walk. And instead of spending 3 days in the hospital, I spent 3 weeks. I had to learn how to walk again, all that horrible stuff. And I was finally starting to get better when my arm started tingling. Long story short, what I have is called complex regional pain syndrome. It's caused either by a surgery that has gone wrong or an injury that has healed, but 3 months later you feel this. They compare the pain of this to cancer pain. I'm on multiple pain drugs, not narcotics because I won't take those, but I have pills that I take. I have a cream that I rub on my arm. I have medical marijuana for that, all this stuff. So up until recently, my MS was secondary. I was told that I developed this because I had MS, that the damage from the surgery was bad enough, but it became this because it was magnified by the MS. So now I've got two disabilities and it's not a lot of fun. So I'm just trying to cope with what's happening now. Honestly and truly, I'm not coping very well. I'm really angry. I'm not dealing well with this, but I will learn to deal with this because I have no choice but to do that.
That's right.
So that's my story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I sent you a text.
What's the
If you
name
want to
of
look
the
at that
facility
bar.
that's a standalone MS facility?
It's the International IMS Medical Practice, IMSMP. It's part of the Tisch MS Center, TISCH. That's the overall, the facility. They're also doing, I forgot, they have a research facility there, and they're working on stem cell research right now, which has proved to be very effective. They've managed to slow the progression of some primary progressive people. So it's very promising research. And, that's why I have the benefit of living in New York City. Very happy that they're here.
And just as far as anger, I'm from New York, so I'm the outlier. So I always feel like, oh, good, there's somebody else. It's like, yes, I'm a native New Yorker, but it's an attitude.
Yes, it is. But I have to say, and I'm a New Yorker. I love this city. I will never leave it. But I am very much not what the stereotypical New Yorker is. I'm not brash and loud and all that. I'm anything but that. But I love this city and all it has to offer, including, medicine.
I'm sure Hannah and I could say the same thing about Texas. I mean, people probably have this certain. Well, I think it doesn't matter where you live. Everybody's going to be like, "Oh, those people that live over there. Or, oh, those people that live over
That
there." So
That's true.
yeah,
I think we can say we're not your.
that is
Yes, I
true.
have my boots
That
and my
is true.
cowboy hats, and I have my,
Uh-huh.
but
You do see boots everywhere sometimes.
yeah.
Tiffany and Jennifer, I'd love to hear a little bit more about why you decided to join and if there's anything you'd like to talk about in particular. Who else is new? You'll have to remind me because
John.
me personally,
John was a
there,
newbie
yeah,
last time.
yeah. I
Yeah.
I haven't been on here in forever, so this is my first time seeing a lot of you guys. So I would actually love to hear a little bit more about yourselves as well, especially if I've never met you personally.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
I just want to know, Mike, where in Michigan did you live?
I grew up in Detroit and downriver from Detroit.
Okay, okay.
So it's 15 years being, northern climb.
Well, you always hear like people say they're from Detroit, and then you say, well, what part? And they say like Saginaw, which is 2.5 hours away, but no one knows
No,
Michigan other than Detroit and then the rest. So, yeah, no, I just was kind of wondering about that.
I have an uncle in Grand Rapids who also had MS, and he was a pilot in World War II. So I don't know much about, in those days it was different, but there is a family connection and a northern climate connection.
Okay, excellent. Everyone in Michigan kind of knows everyone else in Michigan. within 5 degrees kind of a thing, or knows exactly where they're from, or can say, oh yeah, downriver, my band played a show there at a bar that was just built like 10 years ago, but probably the corner, or that kind of thing. That's just Michigan. So this is something that had those of you that were here last time, you remember how I was getting really anxious and angry about having to use a wheelchair? Like that was new to my life. I'm really glad to say that it has helped tremendously. We are through COVID, and we are taking our time recovering. When I say we, I mean my wife Melissa and I. So for long stretches, like from the bedroom out to the living room, I use a wheelchair and Melissa pushes me. But for bathroom purposes, I'm able to use a walker and get there and back, which is something I couldn't do Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday morning. So that's a nice feeling to know that I've kind of gotten through that hard part of COVID. And then today on Facebook, I found out that one of my classmates from high school, who also has MS, has COVID right now. And he sent me a message saying, how bad did it get? And I said, remember all the muscles that you've had? Just say goodbye to those. Like you're not going to be doing anything. And then this afternoon he's like, yeah, you're right. Like I just want to nap. Like yeah, dude, sleep all the time. Your MS is being doubled, if not tripled, the usual effects. But his wife's a nurse, so I know that she knows kind of sees progression, stuff like that. But it's just still kind of a throw off, like, oh gosh, what other MS friend now is going to catch COVID and stuff. And Scott's primary progressive. He uses like a scooter all the time. I don't think he can stand up anymore. So it's like even a little bit more on top of that. And something related to MS and my high school, my graduating class was 106 people, and 4 of us have MS. Well, 3 now, 1 has passed away. But that's a really high percentage compared to the country and the world at large. And it's something that kind of catches you like, wait, what do you think happened? And every one of us points to Dow, which Dow Chemical is in Saginaw, where we all grew up, kind of on the rivers where we fished and played around in. So, not that I don't think we have enough like proof or gumption or pull to pull some kind of Aaron Brockovich moment out of this. Who knows? But we do have classmates that are lawyers, and they're trying to see if there's something that we can at least talk about.
That's really interesting. I have the exact same experience that I grew up on Long Island near New York City, and several high school friends also have MS, and one of them lives out in California, and she goes to someplace at Cedar Sinai, and the doctor asked her where she was from. She said New York. Where in New York? Long Island. Where in Long Island? Apparently, the South Shore of Long Island, and I vaguely remember this, all used to be potato farms, and they sprayed them with chemicals, like constantly. And
Yeah.
so on the block where I grew up, it's a cancer cluster and an MS cluster on just my block. So I think it's the same kind of thing. I firmly believe that, I had a proclivity towards MS, but those chemicals, that's what caused it. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, and a lot of the things aren't happening like at our parents' age, but it's my generation and then our kids. Like the amount of kids, like children in my graduating class that have had cancer, arthritis, all that stuff before age 5 is crazy
Yeah.
town. I did a study in college that I already knew the result of, but I was just doing it to get a grade. You know what I mean? And I matched up the incidence of breast cancer versus the Tittabawassee River, which flows past Dow and then through Saginaw. And it was just like it wasn't dots, it was just a red line for like a mile and a half out. So there's a lot of bad stuff going on over there.
Yeah, my good friend from high school, she has MS. So, but I'm glad to hear that the wheelchair you decided to use it. I was here late last time, if you guys remember.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
having fun with my 2-week-old nephew.
Mhm.
I missed your conversation 2 weeks ago, but I'm really glad that you're using a wheelchair and you're finding it really helpful for you, because I know that's a huge struggle for people to like decide to use that piece of
Yeah.
equipment.
And I think one of the worst part of it is I lost my office door because it's not wide enough to fit the chair through the door at the same time. Other than that, things are peachy. It's not a big complaint, it's whatever. But there's some scrapes and dents along the wall and things like that. But we're learning.
What about transportation?
Oh, so I don't have any doctor's appointments, and I don't know anyone in the city where I live. So with COVID going on, we're keeping me home as much as possible. But for transportation, I can just go down my ramp into my driveway. What we do for getting in the cars, I just sit down on the edge. I swing my good left leg in, and then Melissa helps me with the right leg if I need help getting it in the car.
Can I ask you all a question? Since we're talking about the wheelchair, how have you all, if you have had to deal with this, dealt with some sort of physical representation of your disease? I have this brace they want me to put on my ankle so I don't fall down anymore. How do you deal with either a cane or a wheelchair or a walker, or because I'm not doing well and I'd like to know how you all do it.
If I could,
An excellent question.
Yeah, we're all just like, wait.
yeah.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, did I hear you?
Oh, well, I wanted to pipe in on this one because, like Jon was talking about transitioning after COVID into the wheelchair, and I had COVID 3 weeks ago, Omicron, and thankfully it wasn't bad. But I'm also probably going to transition. I can still walk, and I can walk around my house, but I've been using 2 canes sometimes more frequently, and a cane on my kid's head or a cane on the wall. And I am going to make the transition to a walker. I have used a walker before briefly to walk around the neighborhood when I felt like I needed a little more stability, but this one I think I'm going to need for inside the house, and just I don't know how long it's going to be, and how heavily I'm going to need to rely on it, but it's just becoming apparent that it would help me, and I need to stop pushing myself so hard to just keep going with the cane, or even sometimes I can do without the cane, but it's just kind of every day. Like I've got 5 canes around my house because I walk off without them because I'll be okay, and then all of a sudden I'll need the cane, and
Yeah.
it's
Have
a
you
hard
fallen?
transition, but the cane started at 22 and it was really difficult. It kind of messed with my mind for a while, especially since my symptoms were so on and off. Like I could walk perfectly and then need the cane. But in the end, it's helped. You don't realize until you start using a mobility device how much maybe you're struggling. And then with time, we're using the mobility device, you're actually saving some energy and preventing, falls or injury or
Have you fallen, Elizabeth?
I've fallen before. Luckily, my falls, I have a little bit of warning. I can feel it coming on. And so now I'm usually able to just let myself down onto the ground kind of gently. And I just lay there unless somebody's up to get me. Sometimes if my kids will fetch my husband or I have just laid on the ground until I can get up again.
Elizabeth, they have
Yes.
videos on Yahoo on how to fall.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On what's the video thing? Not Yahoo, but
YouTube. Yeah.
YouTube. How to fall in a corkscrew manner so you can get back up easier. And I've watched them a lot, and when I know I'm going to fall, I try to do what I've learned. It doesn't always work out, but if you fall and you're by yourself, you can get back up in a corkscrew manner. But take a look, or anybody else, take a look at the videos. It's pretty amazing.
Also, WWE videos. Learn how to fall like a wrestler. Take that bump. Mary, you go ahead, and then I want to talk to Roni after you, please.
I'm sorry. This is just a quick piggyback, actually, on the first comment as far as what, starting with Roni, is as far as transitioning and mobility, and then piggybacking also on Elizabeth. My mobility is decent, but I'm starting to have little oopsies, not like, actual falls, but I'm messing myself up to the point that a week ago Friday, I broke two of my toes in fact, I've got my foot elevated right now. And so if this is my right foot, the pinky toe is going like that. And the other toe is kind of going like that. So basically I hit, we go on autopilot in our homes. If we know, we know room to room to room to room. But if we're thinking about something and we know how our MS brain goes or doesn't go, it's like you get up and you're like, okay, well, I have to go to the bathroom, or, oh, but then my mind goes, hey, but go ahead and check your mail. And it's like all these things at the same time. And so I slammed my foot. I was barefoot, and I'm barefoot almost all the time anyway. So I slammed my foot into either the door jamb or the baseboard. And when you break something, it's like that pain, it just comes over you horrifically. And so I've had a cane with me for quite some time as a just in case type thing. There are times when I'm dealing with so much more spasticity the older that I get, and the longer that I've had MS. But so sometimes I notice my gait's kind of gotten a little bit off. But now that I've actually broken, and with my age, osteoporosis is also set in. It's a reminder, like Elizabeth was saying, I don't care about the feeling anymore, or how it looks, or oh, I don't need a cane, or this thing or that thing. I have a shower chair now because I can't stand in the shower right now, but I'm not going to be grungy, so that way I can sit and I can wash. And I have my cane. I don't think it's a good cane, so I'm going to get another one. And Elizabeth, you said something good too, where you have others in different rooms, because I will find myself, even with this broken foot, I've got like a boot and a shoe. I'll go into the kitchen and I'll realize that I have to let my dog out. There's 3 steps down towards the back door. You take that for granted. I mean, 3, like boom, boom, boom. You take that for granted until you realize, okay, I've got nothing to hang on to. I've got nothing to keep steady. And even just holding on to the wall, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. So it's all about being careful and cautious, because even though these toes are going to heal, I've just basically got them taped up together. You never know if it's going to be worse and you slip. And with my good foot, I slip out from underneath. And yeah, it's all about just keeping yourself safe. So I
And
had to throw.
probably also just feeling out how you feel with yourself as well, whether or not you're capable of going without a cane or going without your walker for a little bit. I know just from talking with Elizabeth that she mentioned herself that she goes, off and on without using certain things. And I saw a link in there that that Rick posted a link that about Elizabeth tap dancing. So Elizabeth, have you done that recently? Your tap dancing?
It's been before COVID. Before COVID, I was doing tap dancing, and right now we have a carpet, an old carpet that's on top of my tap floor. So I gotta get my husband to roll it up and take it outside on the curb. And I think I'm gonna get a bar. I need to install a bar because right now I just use
a portable one like I have.
Oh, you have a portable bar?
I got it from my personal trainer when he bought a gym. He didn't want it anymore. I can look at it and send you a link. It's just one of those that's standing. It has sandbags on it to give it some more, but you don't have to put it on the wall. It's just freestanding.
Wow.
Well, that's cool.
Hey, Roni.
Yes.
I want to introduce you. This is Michael. This is Michael Kane.
Michael Kane. Oh my God.
Yeah. I transitioned to a cane when I went on a trip to Iceland. Like I just took two with me just to see like I'm gonna climb a mountain or some stupid idea. But I just noticed how much they helped me with mobility, and I didn't have to have like a cane. I could have these cool carbon fiber walking sticks. It just made me look like, okay, he's going for a hike in a really wobbly way, but he's going for it.
You know? My physical therapist recommended activator poles because I have hiking sticks because I up until recently, this past summer, I was hiking Washington State, Mount Rainier. I was in pretty good shape. So it just came on, the last few months, but he suggested rather than hiking poles to get these activator poles because they're meant for rehab. So I just ordered them and, hopefully they won't look so stupid and awful. But I'll tell you something, you rarely see people walking with walking sticks on the streets of Manhattan. So it'll be interesting. And I won't be able to use a cane because of my arm. I can't hold a cane. So I would have to use both of those poles or go straight to a walker. So that's
And they're called activator poles?
Yeah, the activator. Yeah, activator poles.
Thank you.
I had the website. I would get it for you, but it's not really easy to do that right now. Yeah, they're called pretty sure activator poles. They're meant for rehab. I don't have the website, sorry, but I can send it via email if I have people's emails.
I can find it. I've been
Roni, I can oh sorry. I can
No, I've been told that poles are probably my next device, if you will. I'm not
Yeah, I saw that.
I've been really on a fast track of totally where you're at. Like 3 years ago, it was in 2018, in the fall of 2018. Well, I fell in June of 2018, and then in the fall, I got a new doctor just because my other one left, and she's been great. But I'm like, what's wrong with me? So I was walking, as a walker, I was a dancer, I was a mobile person, and a lot has to do with my age, that it's just the progression is really quick. So I started to use a cane very infrequently in the beginning of 2019 before I was diagnosed, or I would use a cane and I was horrified. Oh my God, I have to use a cane. Got diagnosed, and then probably February or March, I went to a physiatrist and she recommended a brace, like you said. And I remember getting the brace and thinking, oh my God, does this mean I can't wear skirts anymore? I mean, it just, it just, and they didn't explain to me anything about it. and I walked out with it, and I drove my car. I almost had an accident. It's like you don't just put a brace on your foot and start driving.
Right.
Just the stupidity of, there's just a lot of stupidity I've run into. So then I walked around my neighborhood, and at the time I had a dog, and I walked around my neighborhood, and it would like pull the sock off my foot, and I'm around the block, and I'm walking like the Tin Man, and I'm thinking, oh, this is just awful, and it just kind of got worse with that thing. But the thought of, oh my God, I can't wear skirts, and so I did have it, and I drove to a party. It was before COVID, but I think it was probably 2020. And I had to go over a bridge to a party, and I went with a friend, and I was like, okay, I'll drive. But when I got there, I knew I would have to wear a brace, and it's black, and I had on black pants, and I was so self-conscious, like, oh my God. And then I went into a room, and someone who always wears a brace, she's like, I don't think anybody noticed that I wore a brace. I don't think anybody freaking cared that I wore a brace, but it's hard. And then in 2018 or 2019, I can't remember anymore, right? Because of COVID, it's like what year was what? In 2019, I got a walker. I went to this free giveaway and I got a walker, and I was kind of horrified about it. Oh my God, I don't want to use a walker. And I definitely didn't use it in the house. And now I have like 5 walkers. And I don't worry about falling. It's like I fell on my face. I got a big black eye in the house. The food, left my hand. And I did that, but for Elizabeth or the walker. Now I'm a walker evangelical. And so I have 2 walkers in my car, and I watch these people my age or older as they hobble. And I used to go grab the grocery cart, so I didn't have to use the walker. And, and I watch people do that. And now I'm just like so glad I have a walker, but I will show you. I'm very proud of this, and I call it the Center for Independent Living. That's sort of my update about getting some help about residential stuff and other things. So I put this basket. Oh, I can't pull it up, but I put this basket. Oh, I have an example behind me. I have a basket on a walker seat with a tray on top. Because, how do you get your food? Out of the refrigerator and then like walk it over, and you only got one hand. So I can stand. I'm fine standing. And so people just go, you're fine, or they see me with a walker. And I think they think of it as like a baby carriage, like I can't believe how many people just go, oh, you're fine. Well, so you're using a walker, and I go out and I go, no, most people do not use walkers. Most people can walk. It's a huge hardship not to have not to be able to walk. It's exhausting. It's tiring. I don't always feel safe driving. Well, why don't you just take Uber or Lyft? It's like, sure, just take Uber or Lyft. I mean, I have a big steep driveway that I'd have to walk down. Oh wait, I have bowel and bladder issues. The weather changes a lot. It's like no. And then I got what I don't want to be out on my own with a Uber and a Lyft, and just. But the walker, I love my walker. I mean, it was not easy. It was not easy. And then I started with one, and I think I called it like Betty Blue. And then I got another blue one. And for you Texans, I called it Texas Blue Bonnet.
So I'm not the only one that named your assisted device.
Yeah, I had a whole bunch of names. And then I got a lightweight one that's a smoky blue, and I call that one Smoky. And I remember writing to someone, I said, well, I don't have any grandkids, so I thought you might want to learn. I'll send you pictures of my walkers. You might be interested. It's not easy,
You have to name your canes, your walkers, because it is your buddy. And here's that color. This is my favorite color, blue. And this is Maud. Her name is Maud. Not very
I
attractive.
feel so validated.
Maud is a tough broad. But here's my question, just real quick. And I think that this is a bad choice for me to have this little thing on the end instead of just like the regular tip. It's been helpful for me with my broken foot, just for balance purposes. But what are you? I would love to hear thoughts from others as far as the the bottom part. My mom thinks it's a bad idea, but I'm curious as to what others think.
My walker or my cane has 4 feet on it, like spread apart. So,
okay,
you know, I personally, like, I don't know. I don't have my phone, so I can't yell at my husband to bring it into me. But it has a base. It's probably about, can't get about that big. And then it has a leg. It's like a rectangle.
A quad cane. I think it's called a quad cane.
Yeah, something like that. But back before I got Jet, because I named my wheelchair Jet. It's an oxymoron because it's a wheelchair.
I love it. I love the name.
But before Jet, I had the quad cane. I couldn't think of a name for her, but it is what it is. But I prefer having that stability when I am using my cane. So I guess it's all in preference. My mom uses a cane because she's about to get a hip replacement. And she thinks that my cane is irritating. Like she just has like just a normal cane.
That's like my mom. My mom says yours is bad. It is not. And so my mom's is the same way. It's just a cane, I guess.
Right. So I think it all is personal preference.
Okay.
When it comes to a cane, if you're comfortable with it, I say stick it out. Don't listen to anybody else. You got to do you and what makes you comfortable, not what makes other people comfortable. So,
and your balance issues are different because of MS. I think yours is like the hurricane. It's the hurricane or a form of the hurricane. And I just, I guess I had a bunch of canes and I probably pondered the hurricane, but I hurried to the walker faster than I could graduate to I think it's a better cane.
I think that I'd love to name, if I ever got to the point to use a cane, I'd love to name it the Hurricane. I've always thought that I would always put tassels or something really over the top on any wheelchair or any walker that I have. Something glittery, maybe, because I like glitter. So why not make it a little over the top?
Tyler, Aerosmith, he's got stars hanging everywhere.
Yeah, or I don't know, paint. Maybe I can paint some fire coming up from the bottom, something like that.
Whatever I get, well, I can tell you that it's going to be tricked out like crazy. I end up, whatever it is. The one cane that I do have when I had a foot injury is gold with rhinestones all over it. So whatever I end up getting, it's going to be awesome.
Well, you have to do something like that, or else you're going to be miserable.
Well, that's true. I'm already miserable. I'm miserable now.
Well, so. Yeah, but you're going to be even worse.
I appreciate you guys so much. I mean, you really made me feel better from what you all said, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You gotta have fun and humor with everything.
It matters to embrace it, you know. And the walker that I use in my kitchen, somebody was getting rid of it. I saw on Craigslist, and I drove out to get it, and we had a nice chat. And he said it belonged to his wife, and she died, and the brake on it wasn't great, but I knew I was just going to use it in the house. I wasn't going to use it in my hilly neighborhood. And then and we had it. I feel like it's nice when there's stories connected to it. And then, I said, "Oh, what was your wife's name?" And he said, "Karen." But, and I was going to look for like the perfect tray, something pretty. And I was going to look for, because that one that's back there, I don't really need that one anymore. I tried to give it away to someone who's fighting a walker. And she's like, "I can still walk." And I'm like, "You're going to get better." She had a stroke. I said, "But if you use, I don't want to use a walker." And I said, "I have one. You can use it." But I was looking for the perfect basket, and then I was looking for the perfect tray, and then I had that wicker basket in the house and a baking tray, and I like the color, and it goes in my kitchen and it goes in my living room, and it matters because I'm not a blue person. I just cheap, and it just seemed like all my walkers are blue because they were cheap or free, and this one's burgundy. And I think it really does matter, that it just feels like, oh, okay, I can look at you,
A year ago, I transitioned from my canes to them at a time. I was dragging my ass like around the house, like pull, pull. And in effect, I messed myself up because I wasn't using my legs for anything other than just kind of scooting. But I didn't want a regular walker or rollator, and my neurologist suggested something called an Upwalker, and I put a link over in the side. But when I got it, it was like revolutionary. I didn't have to bend over to like hold on to it. I stand up, my arms go on the top. I've got brakes up here. I've got a bell. I've got some streamers out of the handlebars. The bag is custom. It's just I've decorated the heck out of Edna, and Edna has changed my life. So if you're going into a walker situation, take a look at upright walkers. They seem to just make a little bit more sense to me.
I was wondering about that.
What's that?
I was wondering about that for me because I do feel like I'm kind of hunched over. And Roni, I know about every walker that exists. I spent hours researching walkers, and I didn't want this old fogey walker. I didn't want this kind. I wanted one that folded up, that had, I like researched them all over the place. And the truth is, in Europe, they have, different ones, and people have it. A friend from Germany, she said all these old people use them. And the truth is, these simple, basic walkers, I like having a seat. I don't, and at first I was annoyed because I could walk a mile and a half or even 2 miles with a walker. And they go, well, in case you need to sit, I go, it's a walker. I don't need to sit. It's a walker. I walk with it. But it's actually, after researching all these others, I have a whole catalog. I have a whole notebook page, Microsoft Note, where I had pictures and my impressions and all this. And then it just turns out that these regular basic walkers are really good. But Jon, I have been thinking, should I get an up walker? Would I walk up, better?
Yeah, it straightened me right up to, be taller, and the adjustability on it made it just make sure it fits for me. And a lot of people ask about it, like, oh, what's that? And I've been stopped at like a banquet. One of the waiters like, tell me all about this. My other job is in an elderly facility, and this would benefit so many of our patients. Blah 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 blah. I was like, dear Upwalker, pay me.
Yeah, right.
Because everyone wants to know,
Become
like,
an Upwalker ambassador.
Well, the
yeah,
main thing I'm hearing here, and it's so important to think about, is okay, we may have a problem with this foot, this leg, whatever it may be, this hand, this arm. You have to think of your entire body. And Jon, you were saying earlier, as far as before you were kind of like, just shoving yourself along, kind of hobbling, or pushing yourself in whatever manner that was. You got to think about the effect that that's going to have on your shoulders and your hip and other positions that we get into. Even with the cane, you got to make sure that it's at the proper level for you.
yeah,
Otherwise, your hips get out of whack, your knees, the rest of your healthy, normal moving body gets affected. And that's hard to do. I'm still figuring. I mean, even though I bought this can a while back as a just in case, I'm still trying to figure out. It's like, okay, well, is this the right way? Move this leg forward, and then do I do the can? I'm still trying to figure it out. But
is the cane on my weak side or is the cane on my strong side? Like, which side
exactly.
is this on?
Cane
And
on the
it's
strong side.
exactly. And if anything, and going back to Karen, as far as the walker having a seat, what if you're having to stand in line for something? Then you might want to have that seat available so you can plop yourself down for a couple minutes or whatever instead of
But
having to
also it has a
stand
basket. It has the basket, and I go shopping and I put it in the basket. You know, at
and good
first
to
there's
go.
a little market near my house, so it's like, well, I could park right near and grab a cart. But my balance is so bad that I don't want anybody to misinterpret. You know, it's like, stand back. She's got a walker. You know, just stand back. But you know, if I put it to when I first I realized I needed longer arms and I wasn't even 40 yet. And I'm like, bifocals? Oh my God. It's just, and you know, none of us want to be having this discussion. None of us want it. You know, we'd all be happy to be talking about something else, but
Christy, how was the last session we talked? You were in the middle of your Mayo clinic visit. Are you open or wanting to talk about how that went?
Sure. You know, I went down there. I met with Dr. Carter, amazing doctor. So, like I said, when I was out there, he took me off. He took me off of Empira, however you want to say it. I just know it as dalfampridine. And then he increased, because I was on tizanidine. He wants me to, I was at 2 milligrams. He increased me to 4 for a week. So the next week I'm at 6. And then this coming up week, I'm supposed to be at 8 milligrams a day, but I only have, I think, 6 pills left. So I have to call my neurologist here, see if I can get a higher milligram dose, but in a much larger quantity. It's so bad. And then I'm on the generic for Lyrica. It's pregabalin.
Pregabalin.
Pregabalin, yes,
Yep.
thank you. Just for the pain, which helps. And then he also put me on baclofen. So right now, I'm not seeing that it is going to fix my problems because it's helped, but I don't think it's going to fix. I'm still getting spasms. My spasticity is still there. I can't straighten my leg. And now like I'm starting to have spasms in my good leg. And I'm like, well, crap. If my good leg goes at the same time that I'm having with my bad leg, I'm screwed because I don't know how to navigate life without having at least one good leg.
Christy, where
If I-
are you? I'm sorry, where
I'm sorry,
where
if I suddenly disappear, it's because my computer is about to die. I just asked my husband to get me the wire, but it doesn't mean I'm leaving. It just means my computer died. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. What was that, Mary? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I either I missed it or I didn't hear. Where are you? What
I'm in
state?
Colorado. And
Well, okay. Well, I know Ronnie's about to maybe leave. One little note that I wrote is about medicinal marijuana, which is supposed to be, I just got my prescription for that. Now you have it full and clearly legal, meaning full speed
I
ahead in
saw
Colorado.
that, Jennifer.
I do
In
too.
That
Colorado,
made me
yeah.
laugh.
But here in Texas, it's like, so I've got my little, I started with the little oils, and I mean, I do have I have creams. But here in Texas, it's very, very teeny little doses of THC. It does kind of help me calm down as far as sleep instead of like taking Xanax at the end. I've got a lot of anxiety. So instead of like the Xanax and everything, but it's supposed to help a lot with spasticity. And I do baclofen too, but I end up having, I don't know about you, but wicked, not evil, but like the strangest dreams ever. And it does help, but I wake up in the morning stressed because it's like, gosh, that dream. I always have these dreams, but the medicinal marijuana seems to kind of relax everything a little bit better. And I was just
Yeah.
curious as to if you're.
Well, here's my conundrum. I have nothing against marijuana. Like, we're from Colorado. We have a dispensary on every corner right next to the Starbucks on every corner. So
Yeah.
it's not like something that is foreign to me. Plus, back in the day, I used to be a pothead. But something happened when I was younger and I was smoking that I think is all psychological. But smoking it makes me ill.
Me too. I can't stand it. And so, but so now
Me
they
too.
have
I'm the same.
oils and it's little gummy bears, and lozenges. But again, it's such low. I think it's only like 1% THC to 1% CBD in these ingestibles that are allowed in Texas. It took a long time to even get that allowed. But it seems to help a little bit. But smoking it, give me a glass of wine and I'm a happy camper over smoking anything like that.
Yeah, it
We
makes
have
me sick.
Jennifer, if you find that marijuana helps you, we'd love to hear your opinion or anything you'd have to say about it.
Okay. I live in a state that will never make it okay. Okay. On top of that,
Yep.
I used to. I had to leave my job, but I used to run an outpatient addictions. So I've seen all kinds of drugs. So I'm pro marijuana. I've seen good things. I rather them do that than heroin. It's horrible. But and I also run the needle exchange still. So my sister-in-law has really bad seizures. She's epileptic, and I see to a point where if I ever did use that, I don't want it to be my life because she just sits on a couch and smokes all day. I can't. I would, when I got optical neuritis, I thought I was going to die because I didn't know what was going on. I was blind and my eye was going this way. It's horrible. The month before my wedding, wonderful. But I was scared and I couldn't work for about a month, and that messed with me a lot. My depression, definitely, because I have to be out there. I'm a recovering addict, so I've got to be out there and do something. COVID didn't stop me. Addiction didn't stop with COVID. It made it worse. So, girl, I get on marijuana all day. But now I had to step down from that because of my cognitive. That's what it meant. Like that's what it's it messes with my memory, my problem solving, my understanding what somebody's saying. I have to you have to dumb it down a little bit, okay? So now I'm going to be a health educator for infant mortality. My mom was like, Jennifer, isn't any of your jobs good? I was like, look, if I could save babies, I'm gonna be, and I'll still be in the addictive community and stuff. So, but I've seen good things from marijuana, and the only thing we could do is get CBD oil here, and I haven't really tried it. I don't like a lot of pain meds because of my recovery. It's really hard to even take ibuprofen, and even when they sent me the Abagio, because I was first started out on Tecfidera, and I cried. Like, taking pills was a trigger, so I had to get over that really quick because I was a pill popper. So it still sucks. This is why I'm here, because healing happens in community, and I totally believe that. I don't have anything here like this. So when I found virtual and I was like, I could meet other people with MS. Are you kidding me? Yes. This is why I'm here, because so I could heal. Yeah. And like I said, I say it to all my people I meet, healing happens in community. You cannot do this alone. So
Well,
I second that. Yeah, I second that. We need each other.
Okay. I have my medical marijuana right here. We are decriminalized in New York, but it's not legal per se. I've become not an expert on medical marijuana, but it's like a cocktail. You can do 1 CBD to 20 THC, 50/50 the other way around. How many milligrams? So I will tell you that I spend more for my medical marijuana in New York than I do when I go to Washington State and go to weed stores. But I feel much more secure with the medical marijuana that I have here, knowing that it's meant specifically for medical purposes. Because when I go to Washington and I tell them what I need, they're like, "Well, maybe this, maybe that." I get what I need in New York. I use it as a last resort. I try it multiple things first, meditation, whatever. But if I'm in way too much pain, even with everything, it's by my bedside, and that's where I use it. So if I get too high, I'm in bed and I just stay here. But I highly recommend it if you don't mind having your brain, you know,
It's really
it's already slow.
at nighttime is when I need it. Daytime, I want to be. I mean, we all have our fatigue issues. So daytime, it's like the less fatigue I have, the better. Nighttime, if I can't shut off my brain, or that's when like it's cold outside. Not compared to all you northerner Michigan people, because it's freezing up there all the time. But it's when it's cold here, that's when my spasticity and everything cramps up. So here's my little this is the only grower in Texas. It's a Texas original. They're the only cannabis cultivator, and you can kind of vary. They have three, like I said before, gummies, lozenges, or the tincture, which basically you just kind of, it's like a little syringe. You fill up to a certain level. You just put it sublingual. You just put it sublingual, and I don't use it every day. My brother, well, this is being recorded. Never mind. I'm going to leave him. Never mind. Anyway, so some people do different things. I'm thinking, it's not cheap, but at the same time, compared to, first of all, I feel normal. It makes me more relaxed. Again, like I was saying earlier, instead of, and I'm being honest as far as what I take, instead of taking a Xanax, which is a benzo. I've been taking that for a gazillion years because of PTSD and anxiety. So if I can do this and get a good night's sleep, then I'm happy. I'm a newbie at it, so in the next couple months, let's kind of come back around to this topic and see what others are doing, or if I have any other input about it. But it's interesting. I'll put it that way.
Well,
And
come to Colorado, we'll educate you.
well, I know. And Jennifer, when you said that it would never ever come to where you are, that's what I thought about Texas. I mean, Texas, Hannah, I mean, it's,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
Never in a million years did I think it would ever happen.
I know.
And it's not
really,
advertised here either at all.
well, my
Uh-uh.
doctors wouldn't do it. So basically you go through one of their doctors, but MS is like at top of the list. You've got MS, anxiety, PTSD, seizures, epilepsy. Those are like at the very top as far as why you are almost without question approved without doubt to be able to get it. So I was like,
Well,
why not
the
try?
great thing about it being legal in Colorado, you don't have to have a medical marijuana card.
That's right.
That's the great thing. But the caveat is that if you have the medical marijuana card, then you don't pay taxes. And they gouge you with taxes here. So that is the plus side of having the medical marijuana card here in Colorado. But like I said, you don't have to have it here. You know, and the thing is that, say I was just having a bad day and I say, husband, go get me some weed. Go get me something, you know, and he can just walk into a dispensary. Well, you get carded in a dispensary, and it's like walking. It's so weird walking into a dispensary. They card you behind a glass like window, and then they buzz you in, and then you walk into Wonderland. It's like it looks like you walk in. It's just a small little room with a glass window, which you can't even see what's in there in the dispensary through the glass window. And it's like you're accepted into the club once you give them your ID.
Yeah.
And you go into
It's so funny. The first time I went in, I thought it was like a liquor store. Like they'd say, well, what kind of high do you want? You want to sit on the couch? You want to go out and have fun? It was like, you want a Chablis or a Rosé? What kind of taste do you like? It was so weird. It's like I didn't even know what to do. It was Alice in Wonderland.
Right.
What's going on?
Well, I went to go pick
You can get home delivery in California. Michael,
I
can you
get
turn
it all
off
the
the
time.
mic, because your mic keeps going on and we hear like extraneous noises. Because you know that when you talk, the mic moves around. So Michael, hello. Can you turn off your mic so we don't get all the extraneous noises? Because it's been like, I'm auditory, so it makes me crazy. So, you know, I'm in California and there's pot everywhere. You can get it. I got a little card in the mail saying, you know, we'll deliver it to your house. I was never a big drinker or a big smoker or a big get high on anything really. But, you know, I like to have a glass of wine. If I'm at a party, I like to smoke some pot. I can't do it anymore because of my neurological. I just, last year, I think it was, or earlier in the year, whatever year that was, 2021, on Zoom, I was like, oh, let's have an adult drink. You know, I have like little Zoom parties. And then I was like, okay, I'll go have some wine. And then I have to, in this room, there's a bed. And it's like, oh my God, I had to have a glass of wine. I got to lay down. I feel like crap. So I'm kind of pissed because I can't even enjoy that. And I have a lot of pot here that I've had because I go places and people are like, here, my friend is growing it. Here, I've got that. Here, I've got some cookies. You know, I got a music camp in Humboldt County. Well, here, I've got this. Here, I've got that. So I haven't ever had to go into a store. And I don't want to give it away to people like my neighbor who's like a big pothead. You know, it's like the people I would give it to. It's like, no, I don't want to aid your your addiction. But when I fell in 2018, I had this really, really bad fall, and I was in so much pain. My friend said, "Oh, here, I got a vape pen," and so I was like, "Okay." I was in so much pain. I used it for about a month. I sat home and I was like, that is so cool. And then I'd be playing music. I'm like, that's really cool. I don't know what I did, but it's so cool. So I didn't like being stupid. You know, I did that for the month. And then after that, I was like, I really don't like being stupid. Now I am anyway, because I got cognitive issues. But, you know, so I have access to it, but my brain doesn't like it.
Tiffany, I know that we hadn't heard from you, and I'd love to hear whether or not you have something to weigh in on this topic, or maybe if there's anything else that you'd like to speak about.
Well, I mean, I can't really weigh in on the topic because I'm a nurse and being
I was
recorded.
gonna say, yeah, she can't.
I can't really, professionally, I can't really weigh in right now.
Yep. No, that's understandable. Totally get it.
No, it's just newly diagnosed, so it's just kind of a lot still, but.
Okay.
still struggling
So
with like when do I call the neurologist with certain things?
That's a
But
great question.
yeah,
Really good question.
that's something I still struggle with. Yeah, almost 5 years into it, I still struggle and trying to figure out when do I call the neurologist for this or that, especially if I'm late for my Ocrevus infusion, which I am now. Yeah, so what's that been like for you?
I just, like I said, it's I haven't really contacted him really about anything since my last flare. Because I mean, I'm started my meds and I work with the drug company. If I have any questions on my meds, they've been really great. I work with Viatris, I think. But yeah, no, I might have to contact him because I'm starting to have some muscle spasms that I haven't had, and I'm just super, super tired. I had an appointment with my primary the other day, and she suggested maybe reaching out. So
Okay.
I
Well,
think it's
yeah.
100%. It's been good for me to contact my MS specialist, and I've even had my MS specialist contact me before when I tried to fill a prescription that I hadn't filled for a long time, and she called me to see what's up, and she asked me to test myself. You can go to the drugstore and get UTI strips, which I didn't know, and test myself, and I had a UTI that was asymptomatic. Had no clue, but I was having vertigo again. I was having a lot of spasticity, and it's not always a relapse. And something that's really helpful with my MS specialist office is they have you can contact them through their portal.
yeah,
So
that's
you
how
can
if I
just send
contact
a
him, I'm
message
gonna
to the MS nurse, and
It does help a lot.
get in touch that way,
Yeah, because I see I go through an MS center through one of the major hospitals in Boston, so.
And UTIs are, I don't know if anybody else, because I had a UTI and it messed me up, and apparently it's very common with MS. So now I have my little containers at home, and I get a urology treatment, and she said, don't bother with the lab. Anytime you're wondering about it, just bring it in, and we'll do that. But I'm going to ask about test strips too. That's pretty handy. All the wonderful things. I forgot
the UTI is really a good segue to something that we wanted to mention, because if you remember, we had a terrific webinar with Dr. Rachel Rubin on UTIs and a bunch more with our resident excellent interrogator, Miss Kim Stroh, who put Dr. Rubin through her paces. And I think I'll find if you missed it, I'll find the link and put it in the chat window for you. But it just so happens that Dr. Rubin is going to be back next Monday night, right? Right, Miss Kim?
Yeah, I don't know where I'm doing this at because I'm going to be in Rochester at the Mayo Clinic, and there's impending weather on Tuesday, so I don't know where I'm going to be when this goes off, but I will be showing up, and maybe telephone. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Anyway, I think it starts. Is it 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Eastern
7 p.m. Central.
Time?
Yeah.
Yes, but it's not just me. It's about intimacy, and it's not just about MS. We have prostate, lupus, we have people like wheelchair bound. So it's not just me asking the questions. We have a group of people. And let you guys know, last time I was supposed to ask questions for 20 minutes and ended up being 45. So I thought I covered my bases well, guys.
So if
More
we're
than
talking
double
about
Q&A time.
if we're talking about bladder issues, it's a good time to throw this in. I just this past week, I did a Botox injection into my bladder. I don't know if any of you have done that. So with the hope of not leaking so much anymore. And they tell me that it's going to take effect in 7 to 10 days. So I just wanted to throw it out there. It was not an awful procedure. It was not painful. It was uncomfortable. But if anybody is looking to do that or thinking about it or has done it, just kind of wanted to throw out that I had it done and it wasn't bad.
Somebody had it
Right.
done, but she's
Jen
not here
Digmann, one of
tonight.
our moderators, she had it done recently.
Yeah.
But I'm an evangelical for tibial nerve stimulation because and I have a home kit now that I do at home, and I've done at least 4 or 5 treatments at home. I used to go in for it, but it's transcutaneous. I forgot now. I'm a nurse, but I forgot percutaneous or trans. It's like it's just little pads that I put on my leg, and I can just feel like, oh, I notice I have to do about every 19 to 20 one day. It's supposed to do it no more than once a week, but I was on a 3-week cycle, and about like day 19 or 20, I'm like, I got a little problem, and I do the treatment, and immediately I feel better.
Wow.
So
And then
and
Dr.
I don't know
Rubin,
why it's not kind of widely used. I was going in the clinic for it, and they had to put a little acupuncture needle in it, and I didn't like that. But now and I did that for quite a while because it worked. But now it's just really simple because I have control over it, and it's just a little weird pulsing sensation and
Transcutaneous tibial
nerve
is what you said?
stimulation. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe type that in
that's
the
about.
box, Karen.
Oh yeah, well let's see. With my one hand, but I can do it for you
You can
guys. I'll
do
do
it.
for
Yeah,
you
one
guys.
thing that
I'll do it.
Dr. Rubin talked to me about at the urological webinar we had in November was for me to go see a pelvic floor physical therapist, which I had never heard of before till a couple months before. And I think I had my last appointment on Monday, and I am like 80% better. So highly recommend. And it's not just for the ladies, it's also for the men. Highly recommend. Go see that pelvic floor physical therapist. I gotta tell her that when I talked to her on Monday. Like, hey, I took your advice. Good advice.
Yeah, that made a big difference for me. I did it, I don't know, like 12, 14 years ago, but it was like I found the muscles again, like, because I had no clue where they were. I'd have been having these problems since I was a teenager, basically, and it's like, they're right there. That's what you're supposed to squeeze. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I went on that.
we talk a lot about these PTs that specialize in pelvic floor, and they're supposed to be terrific. So, Kim, I'm not surprised that they've helped you. I mean, we've heard some, with the guys when they have prostate surgery, they really need these pelvic floor physical therapists, and they help them immensely. I mean, it's not usually a problem that men are faced with, but these they're great. So Roni, it's certainly something that I would look into in New York City. I'm sure. I bet Tisch can connect you with a pelvic floor physical therapist. They probably have a couple that are even at Tisch at
Yeah.
NYU.
I've actually done that, and some of the exercises are the same exercises you do when you're pregnant, so I remembered those. Um, but it didn't seem to work as much for me, and they were doing e-stim as well, and I just couldn't get the right muscles going. Just wouldn't work for me. I tried, but so that was it was an option, but it was an option that didn't work.
Good for you for trying. Good for you for trying.
I'll try
That is
anything.
great.
I'll try anything. If
Okay.
somebody tells me it's going to help, I'll try anything.
So
But like,
I put in the chat window the link to the urology webinar from November, which if you haven't watched it, it's a good watch. It's worth watching. I also put in the registration It is on our webinar channel, so you'll need to register to get the link. It's free, but you'll need to register to get the link. And I put that in there too. And as Kim said, there's going to be a few other folks that are going to be vying for time, but they're all each one of them could fill up the time themselves, I have a feeling.
But
So,
ask all your intimacy questions because they're anonymous. You type it into the box and then Alexa sends it to me and then I ask it. So no fear. I will ask those questions for you.
That's right. And Kim has not been known to shy away from the most intimate questions. Is that correct, Miss Strode?
No, it's very easy. Yeah, and if you watch that urological thing, you'll learn a couple of things about me too. I was a little open on that one. So it's all good. 'Cause I think it humanizes it. It actually brings it in like, oh, you actually have this problem. Like, yeah. But, my goal in the world is like, you know how if you cut yourself, you can go up to any business and go, hey, can I borrow a Band-Aid? Wouldn't it be just cool to be like, hey, can I borrow a diaper? Like, sure, what size do you need? Just hand it. No biggie. No one cares. Just like, oh, yeah, why not? I always love that. But, having a pelvic floor physical therapist before, I went on a trip. I went out of the country for a week. I was on a plane, 5 hours, and all this traveling. No issues, no freaking out about not being around the bathroom or being on the plane or having an accident. I really, really could enjoy the trip. And it was just so nice. I was so full of gratitude. I was just so
Did you
blown
miss
away.
the snow?
Well, the snow is still here. It hasn't melted, but I missed the big. I think my town got 10 inches of snow. My husband had to do a turn and burn from Minneapolis and back because the snow was going to be from Minneapolis through the corridor back down to Des Moines. So he did a turn and burn and dropped me off the night before. But yeah.
Where did you go?
I went to Roatan, Honduras, which is an island 38 miles off the main coast of Honduras.
Wow.
It
And
was
what
amazing.
did you do there, Miss Kim?
Everything. It was a authentic trip. It wasn't a touristy, let's live like kings. It's like, let's really get to know the culture. So it was a lot of fun. And I actually felt honestly safer there with COVID and like personal safety than I do in the US. There was actually one point, because it's just like literally one main drag, because I think the widest part of the island is like 3 miles. So there was one point, because when you have 5 American girls out at the road, people are going to stop and ask you if they want. So a gal stopped. I think she's coming home from work in a minivan, didn't speak any English, just Spanish. And I would never do this in the United States, but in there, I just hopped right in with the other girls and go, hey, take us to this Indian restaurant. And she didn't know where it was, so she FaceTimed her husband, and he figured it out. And there, a construction worker makes like $20 a day, and you can take 5 girls 2 miles down the road and get 10 or 12 bucks. So highly motivated to, and everyone was super nice. So yeah, it was a great time. We had an amazing time, and they didn't have any COVID. Go ahead.
I just want to jump in before Mary leaves, because I know that Michael was very interested in this new drug that Mary's tried, because he told me in the gym on Monday. That's how I know. So I'm just wondering who else knows about. I don't even know the name of the drug, but if anybody else other than Mary has information on that drug for Michael, that would be terrific.
Yeah, I started it almost a year ago. I think it was March-ish, so it's almost been a year. And basically it's like I said, it's very easy. Michael, I don't know if you're on Facebook or Rick, if you want to if can't talk, I can certainly email back and forth with Michael or text, whatever's comfortable. It doesn't matter. There is a good group on Facebook specifically targeted towards Kesimpta. The admins of that group do a very good job of controlling it without some weird information, weird people coming in there. We all know how Facebook gets, but anyway, so but it's easy. And the makeup of it is a lot like Ocrevus, except it's in a smaller amount. That's why you give yourself a shot just once a month. Now, you've been on Copaxone, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So see, I was too. Copaxone was always my in between. It's like Copaxone, Avonex, Tysabri, Copaxone, and then Aubagio, Copaxone. And so it was always my in between until doctor said it ain't working for you. So if you've been doing the Copaxone, Kesimpta is also subcutaneous, but you will have no stinging, no redness, no lumpies. You know, where it stays kind of red and lumpy for a little bit. I still have lumpiness from my years ago of Copaxone. So the injection is very easy. They send you, you start off with a little short, like a loading dose period. And then from that point forward, they'll send you your shot once a month. You just put it in the fridge. I'll talk to you again. I don't want to monopolize the final moments of this chat, but if you want to talk more about it, I would be more than happy to.
I will ask Rick if he can put us in touch by email. I don't do Facebook.
Yeah,
but I would love to talk.
yeah. Rick, if you can help make that happen,
I'll take care of that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anybody else have any experience? I know that Hannah has a lot of experience with Ocrevus, and it sounds like Kesimpta is just a lower dose of Ocrevus. And Kim has experience with Ocrevus too.
And Elizabeth.
Anybody else tried the Kesimpta, which is the lower dose?
I've not tried it. Ocrevus is working for me, but I have thought about, maybe giving Kesimpta a try if ever Ocrevus failed me. And I've seen the schedule of how Kesimpta works and how it's sort of spaced out, and I did find it a little bit odd, but that's about all I know though. So.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely connect you guys. Go ahead, Michael.
No, I'd like to acknowledge Christy and ask her how her visit went with Dr. Carter and Mayo.
It went really good. Now, he is a fountain of knowledge. He literally, I don't think I've ever had an initial kind of like examination from head to toe. Found out some stuff that was going on with me that I had no idea that was going on.
He's very thorough.
Oh, very thorough. He's a very nice gentleman. We had quite the conversation, and then we talked again. Unfortunately, we weren't able to meet up again after my MRI, but there were no new lesions. But there were markers that I had active. Huh?
Perhaps we can take this offline, let everybody go, and I'll ask Rick to send along an email from me with my address. Love to talk to you.
Yeah, I'll do that too. I'll connect. I'll make sure I've got it down here, and I'll try and take care of it before the morning. So
okay.
So I'll put all you guys in touch with each other because it's getting late, and I know everybody wants to go to bed.
How do I get? I need to give my email somehow. I don't think you have it.
Oh, Roni, yes. If you put that email, you can put it in the chat window. You know how to do that? If you put it in the chat window, we'll make sure you get our money. How did you hear about us, Roni?
Web search. Looking for MS support groups.
Jim, see everybody. Thanks for coming.
Bye, Mike.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye.
Have a good night.
So yeah, we'll make sure you go. We'll make sure you get on the
Why is this
on the
not working?
distribution, and then